day makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh, you know we need them. We need those strategies, don't we? Those strategies for living. Are you ready? Ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Boy, I am ready today.
I
I'm
knew
excited.
you would be ready today. Yes, yes. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. And the only thing that I have to say to introduce the program today
Yes.
is Habemus Papam.
That's right.
Yeah, we have a new pope.
Incredibly exciting news.
And, you know, the other thing that I'll add one thing to that.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I don't know what you could add to that.
Habemus Bishop.
Oh, true. Very true.
How could we find a better life strategist to talk about the excitement that we're all still caught up in and feeling?
In the historic moment that it is.
An American Pope.
Yeah.
I mean, how could we get a better life strategist than the Bishop of the Diocese of Shreveport?
I couldn't
Bishop
think
Francis
of
Malone.
any better.
Well,
You've outdone yourself.
you know, I don't know about that, but I do know that Bishop Malone, I'm sure, has some things to share with us about our new Pope, Pope Leo XIV. You were excited when you found out that he was choosing the name Leo and 14, and then we were driving, and I heard you do a little scream.
Yeah.
You're sharing you're sharing a birthday with the Papa, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, September the 14th.
That's right. We share a date. I think that's
so,
pretty cool.
man, we've got a lot to talk about today, don't we?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Yeah, there you go. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. This is an exciting time and an exciting day. Bishop Francis Malone, our life strategist today. We appreciate you being with us. We appreciate our sponsors, making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of The Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. Back in a moment, we are going to talk about our new Pope, first American to serve as pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, our life strategist, Bishop Francis Malone from the Diocese of Shreveport. Back in a moment.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem trapped. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. It is our honor to welcome in as life strategist the third bishop of the Diocese of Shreveport, Bishop Francis Malone. He was appointed bishop in 2019 by Pope Francis. Prior to that, he was a priest in the Diocese of Little Rock, where he held many positions, including Vicar General and the longtime pastor of Christ the King in Little Rock, Arkansas, 19 years. Your Excellency, welcome to Strategies for Living.
Good to be here with you.
So, Bishop, there's so much to talk about with what has happened. Could you have even imagined when you woke up? Was it even in your imagination that the cardinals, the conclave, could possibly vote for an American as Pope?
I know some of the cardinals, and there are a couple of them that I, in my imagination, would have thought this one would have been a good Pope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not really, because for so long we heard that, well, they would never elect an American
Right.
from the United States to be Pope. Because, the United States is such a superpower and such a large country and wields such great influence around the world. And then the church,
Yes.
the largest Christian denomination in the world, that perhaps having these two massive institutions that may not work together.
Right.
So we've been told, for as long as I can remember, well, we'll never have an American Pope.
Right.
And then, then here we are.
Now, a little birdie told me that you celebrated Mass yesterday.
Yes.
And I think you were still vested
Yes.
when I guess somebody, maybe at the end of Mass, said there's white smoke. And so...
tell us about that moment.
Tell us, yeah. You sat down, you started watching immediately. What was that like for you?
Well, I was scheduled to celebrate Mass at 11:30, and so I was in my residence watching the approaching results of the election.
Right.
And there was one ballot taken the first day. Then the next day was supposed to be 4, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were approaching the Rome time, when they would be at the fourth or fifth ballot.
Right.
And so before I went over for Mass, I thought, I'll just watch. And then it was really then when you're watching and you're a little impatient because you don't know what lapses of time and so forth are happening.
Right.
And you're watching the chimney, and you're watching the seagulls and
Oh, those seagulls.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
those seagulls.
Which I said that really the Holy Spirit was.
Yeah, there was a
there.
baby.
Yeah,
There was
that's
a
right.
baby sickle.
That's right. So just watching that, and then all of a sudden you see the smoke, and it's faint at first, and all of a sudden it becomes more prominent and powerful, and it's clearly white, and you get excited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was no question when that
No.
white smoke started pouring out. There was no question. We have a Pope.
We have a Pope.
Yeah.
And so I was prepared to celebrate Mass, and so I knew there would be a lapse of time between the white smoke being visible and then the announcement
Right.
on the loggia from the cardinal deacon as to who had been elected. So I went to the sacristy and put my vestments on for the Mass that I had already planned to celebrate,
Right.
and then went to the foyer of our chancery building, and we have a large TV there, and there must have been 30 members of our staff just watching and
Right,
waiting.
right,
So I just
Holding vigil.
it's a holding vigil, and in great anticipation, and there was an palpable excitement in the space, and so I just got me a chair and sat down and waited. I waited, and having seen this a number of times in my lifetime,
Yes.
knowing what was going to happen, and that the crowds are going to be cheering, and the bells are ringing, and then waiting for the curtain, the white curtain, first of all, that opens, then out will come first of all the cardinal deacon,
Right.
who's the oldest deacon, and he comes out among the electors. Then he comes out and he makes the proclamation, in Latin about great joy I announce, Habemus Papam,
Right.
and even though people know from the white smoke and from the bells that there is a new pope, just hearing those famous words Habemus Papam, the place
Yes.
goes crazy.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And two of our priests from the Diocese of Shreveport were actually there
Wow.
at that
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
And
Father Kelby and Father Peter.
Peter,
That's right.
Yeah.
they were there, and they had to experience a great exhilaration and joy. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
What
has
an
to be there.
experience.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
be something they'll hold on to for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I even saw one of them interviewed on CBS.
Yes,
So,
right.
wow.
I told him he couldn't volunteer to take on a new profession or a new job. He did so well,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So just watching that take place, and then of course you don't know
Right.
who the person is until the cardinal deacon announces it, and it's kind of protracted a little bit,
Sure. The church, the Catholic Church knows how to do drama.
That's right. Yes.
We've got great colors, great costumes,
rituals.
great rituals.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And so he announces the cardinal, and he announces his Christian name, his baptismal name, and Robert Francis, and then when he said Prevost, I'm thinking, did he say Prevost?
Right.
Did he say Prevost? And then it was obvious at that moment, and you could see, or you could hear in the announcers, the various
Yes.
people they were covering when they heard Prevost. And they have a list in front of them. They may not even be Catholic, but they have a list of all the cardinals
Right.
and where they're from.
Right.
And so they too, are saying Prevost, he's an American.
He's an American. He's
And all
from the
of a
United
sudden,
States.
everything goes crazy,
Right,
All the things they said that it would be impossible that they'd ever liked an American, and then that's all you hear. That's
Right.
all you hear. And so I remember there was a movie many years ago about the shoes of the fisherman. And,
Oh, sure.
And
You're dating you and
well,
I.
I
now.
know,
Yeah.
I know, but I remember that, and the cardinal who was elected was Russian.
Right.
And I remember the commentator who was on being filmed simply said, "It's the Russian."
It's the Russian.
It's the
Russian.
Russian. I believe I'm correct on that. And so the same thing. It's the American. It's the American. And now, unlike most of the other cardinals that I would know or know personally, who are have their residences here in the United States,
Right.
Yeah.
that Cardinal Prevost was living in Rome, working in one of the more important congregations called dicastery for selection of bishops.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he select you? Was he instrumental in your?
No, he became the prefect, the head of that dicastery in 23,
Okay.
and I was selected
Oh,
in
okay,
19.
sure.
Yeah,
Right.
so it was his predecessor, Cardinal Wadet, Canada.
Okay.
It's such a joyful moment, but I do have to go back to and ask you, Pope Francis. You and he share a name.
Yes.
And by the way, Cardinal Provost middle name
Francis.
is also Francis. So
Yeah.
That's right.
you're connected.
I'm connected.
You're connected. You're okay. But I've got to ask you, what were these days like? Here you were watching the finality of we're saying our goodbyes to, for many, a beloved individual. He named you a bishop. I don't know if you hold that against him, if that's for him or against him, but he named you a bishop, and we're glad he did. What was that like for you these last days before this joyous moment?
Well, they say there's a tradition that after the cardinal who has been elected pope, after he accepts, because he's asked, "Do you accept the election?"
Yes.
And then if he says yes, then they, "By what name will you be called?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, Leo the 14th. And then there's a tradition that at some point, when they all applaud, and because once he says, "I accept," he becomes the Pope at that moment.
It's a done deal at that moment.
That's a done deal, and there's no there'll be a ceremony to formalize that moment. He becomes, with full powers and everything associated with the papacy, he becomes that at the moment he says, "I accept." That there's also a tradition that says that he addresses all the cardinals, all the cardinal electors, those who are in the Sistine Chapel, and says to them, "May God forgive you for what you have done."
I love it. I love it. We are with Bishop Francis Malone from the Diocese of Shreveport. We're talking about the wonderful news. Habemus Papam, Pope Leo XIV.
Right.
We've got much more to come, much more to learn from our life strategist today, Bishop Francis Malone. Be right back. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. You know, I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab, strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Our honor today to have as our life strategist Bishop Francis Malone from the Diocese of Shreveport. Of course, everybody knows the news. A United States Cardinal, Cardinal Robert Prevost, was elected by the world's cardinals just a few days ago as the new pope on the second day of the conclave. Fourth or fifth ballot, right. Bishop?
Right.
That's pretty quick.
It is pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, you were talking in the last segment before we went to break, you were talking about the things that happen right after the election. Now, there's freedom. I mean, the cardinals elected him, but he doesn't become pope. They ask him, and he doesn't become pope until he says, "Yes, I accept."
That's correct.
Okay.
So the cardinal prefect would, once the they're all keeping tally on
Right.
how many votes are 2/3, you know.
Right.
And once they reached that, they realized that he has the requisite number of votes, and then I guess they could continue on with the voting. But once it's confirmed, it's confirmed. But the confirmation is really when he reaches that magic number. Whatever.
If I did my math right, it's 90.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
if I
so-
did my math right. Yeah.
So you imagine that those are a lot of votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a chapel with 133 cardinals, and everyone, I'm sure, is tallying on the
Keeping up with, yeah.
notepad, and then but once they reach that number, and then the cardinal prefect would come down to the one who was elected, who received the requisite number of votes, and ask him, "Do you accept the election, naming you as the Roman pontiff?" And it must be a really awesome moment for everyone.
Oh gosh, yes.
And maybe there's a cardinal or two in the room who says, "Say no." You know? But once he says, "I accept," at that moment, he's Pope. He's Pope.
Yeah.
And then the only other question is, by what name will you be called?
Okay, now.
So, yeah, we've had, there's been lots of theories about the name. You know, is he referencing Leo the 13th? I can't help but wonder about the Latin Leo for lion. You know, what is your opinion about the significance of his name?
Well, for those of us who were schooled in the history of the church and in the seminary and even and beyond that, Leo the 13th stands out as a significant pope in the last 150 years.
Yes.
And I don't think the name Leo, referencing lion, has anything to do with his choice of being an aggressor, someone who's out there forceful and so forth.
Yeah.
Right.
But for those of us who know anything about Leo the 13th, one little tidbit is that he's the first pope that was ever videotaped or recorded.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but secondly, he was instrumental. The time in which he lived and then forward, instrumental in teaching and making a part of the magisterium, the teaching, the philosophy, the theology of the church, a mission to advance social justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that at the time, in the latter part of the 19th century in which he was elected, that that which was occupying the minds of an awful lot of people in Europe and the United States and so forth was the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
And so you had issues related to labor,
Right.
and workers' rights, and
Right.
prior to that time, if you were growing up as a young boy growing up in the mid 1800s, chances are that the career that you would be entering into as an adult would probably be the career that your father had lived. And so the farmers' sons became farmers themselves, and the machinists, their sons became
machinists, sure.
because the fathers modeled for their sons. This is how you live your life. This is how you provide for your family, and so forth.
Right.
But the Industrial Revolution, it took young men away from their homes, away from the farms, and into factories where the mass producing equipment and whatnot.
Right.
And so Pope Leo XIII was instrumental. One particular document called Rerum Novarum was his signature encyclical, in which he advanced the cause of those who were working.
Yes.
And the dignity of work.
Yes.
And that has stayed with the church ever since Leo XIII. Anyone,
So that's a big clue then for you.
for me, it is.
yeah.
And anyone who heard Leo XIV automatically thought Leo XIII.
Right.
And what was his contribution to the church and to the world. So all the social justice issues that we deal with have their foundation, we believe, not just in the Gospels, but in a living way in one of our former Holy Fathers.
You know, it's interesting because Lauren and I began to watch, and we were all, you know, like probably a lot of people, we were glued. And when he came out in the contrast, Pope Francis came out in the simple white papal robe.
Mm-hmm.
And Pope Leo decided to go a bit more traditional. So it seems that he may be telling us, okay, well, we're going to continue some of Papa Francis's
Work. Yeah.
but also we're going to reach out to the traditionalist. Do you see that also, Bishop?
Possibly. You know, there was a movie, Two Popes, and
Oh,
Yeah.
great movie.
Good movie.
Yeah.
great movie. And when Francis was elected, and then they go to the room of tears, the side room where he will disrobe from his red cardinal vestments,
Right.
and put on the papal vestments, which will be the white cassock or
Right.
white robe, and then the other things that go along with it, and the stole which drapes over his neck and his shoulders.
Right.
Very ornate, and has a lot to do with the shepherd
Yes.
on there, and the cross. Bishops wear what we call a pectoral cross over their
Right.
heart. The Pope has a cross also, and he would have had that cross when he was the Archbishop of Buenos Aires. They were talking about Pope Francis,
Right.
Right.
and so when the bishop or the cardinal who was in the room with him, helping him get out of his cardinal stuff into
His new digs.
the new digs. That's right. That he was simply saying, "No, I'll keep the cross that I've been using." And there's either a movie or a song that says the carnival is over, and so when he was given all these things to wear, he said no. He says the carnival is over.
The carnival's over.
That's right. And so he wasn't interested in the Prada shoes, or he wasn't
Right.
interested in anything that made him look different
Right.
from people that he was called to serve.
Right.
And so when I don't think we can read or should read more into that than simply this was just Francis. I mean, those who knew him in Buenos Aires knew he would take public transportation.
Right. Right.
And,
It's just who he was.
yeah, and he wore his scuffed up black shoes instead of anything fancy, and he continued to wear his cross that he wore as the Archbishop of Buenos Aires, and so I think that was just him.
Yeah.
And we can read a lot into that. And in fact, you know, in his life in Argentina and in his papacy, he certainly did advocate for those who were on the periphery, or those who were on the sidelines,
Yes.
and especially the poor. And he had great love for them, and so he just obviously thought that his demeanor should show that.
Should reflect that.
Now,
yeah.
there were people who would say, well, we were so used to watching these popes. You know, I've seen this, 8 times.
Right.
And,
Right.
and just used to seeing the regalia.
Right.
And of course, at one time, they even would wear a tiara.
Oh, right. Right.
And so one of the popes along the way said, this is no longer appropriate for our time.
Right.
And divested himself of that. And so what I saw in Pope Leo yesterday was just, well, I like that style. And in the tradition of the church, for as long as we can remember, this is what the Pope wore, and I think that's how we'll read it. I think most people will read it. I haven't heard any criticism of people say, well, this is how he's different already from Francis.
Right. In the little bit that, and of course everybody seems to be talking about it, there's great anticipation of what is to come.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting. We all have an interesting seat, especially here in the United States, as Leo XIV's papacy unfolds. We're talking about that today. Couldn't pick a better life strategist than Bishop Francis Malone from the Diocese of Shreveport as we all talk about and celebrate. We have an American Pope, Leo XIV, talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. And we've got more to come, so don't go away. Stay right where you are.
From the bayou to your table, we're keeping it alive with flavors from the family passed down to survive. The Godfather's here with a twist in the tail. Alligator Italian sausage, and it sure won't fail. It's the boss of the bayou, a taste you can't refuse. Italian tradition, Cajun infused. Godfather sausage, bold and true. The Padres bringing the bayou to you.
Get the Godfather Alligator Italian Sausage only at Fertitta's Delicatessen, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Pick up a muffy while you're there. The Godfather Alligator Italian Sausage. It's a taste you can't refuse. Sold only at Fertitta's, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's. Thebalancedlife.us.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies for living. Radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, and our life strategist today. Couldn't get a better one for right now. Bishop Francis Malone from the Diocese of Shreveport. And, of course, we're all celebrating the great news, the wonderful news. Habemus Papam. We have a pope. Bishop, with your permission, a few weeks ago, Pope Leo, back then he was Cardinal Prevost, was speaking about the Holy Spirit and the choice of Pope. Let's see if I can bring this up.
But we as Catholics have always believed, and I firmly believe what Jesus himself said, the Holy Spirit will never abandon the church. Don't doubt that. The Holy Spirit was part, in some way, shape, or form. I wasn't there, but I truly believe that Pope Francis was elected by that College of Cardinals in 2013 because the church at this time needs Francis. At a different time, we needed Pope Benedict, and at a different time, we needed St. John Paul II, et cetera, et cetera. But the Holy Spirit will never abandon the church, and if we can live placing our trust in that, yeah, we might be shaken up a bit. We might need to ask questions, and there's a lot of people we can ask questions to. But we continue to walk placing our trust and our confidence in the Lord, whose Spirit is indeed with us. But
I would just ask you, listening to now Pope Leo and those words, what are your thoughts as you hear that?
Throughout the past number of decades, with the death of a pope and the election of his successor, people have frequently say, "Who do you think they're going to elect?
Right.
Who's going to be the next pope?"
Right.
And I say, "Well, I'll tell you, I know exactly who they're going to elect." Who? So they're going to elect Peter. They always do.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
The church belongs to the Lord Jesus Christ, and so because it belongs to Him, He has a vested interest in how the church is going to continue the mission He entrusted to the church to evangelize, to teach, and to sanctify, and so that was the mission He gave to the church, and He protects that, and the Holy Spirit that was sent to the church on Pentecost, which we're about to celebrate in a few weeks, is the same Spirit that's been guiding the church,
Right.
and it's not accidental. We don't believe in accidents.
Right.
If we believed in accidents, we would begin all of our prayers in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Accident. So we believe in the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit really guides us and directs us. And if you watch the fuller happenings for the conclave, one of the first things that the cardinals do is they sing that Latin hymn, Veni Creator Spiritus, Come Holy Spirit.
Yes.
First thing they do. And that's consistent with what the early apostles did in the early councils of the church. They began their work by invoking the Holy Spirit to guide and direct them. And because this is the church that belongs to Jesus Christ, we're confident that He's watching,
Right.
and that He's going to give to the church at that moment what the church needs. And that's the Holy Spirit to guide and direct the church in a particular path.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, this is incredibly exciting news for Catholics, but a lot of our listeners are non-Catholics and maybe even, actually a lot, even non-Christians.
Non-church.
Yeah.
Right.
So what would you say the election of the new Pope, what does it mean for them?
Well, the first thing I would observe is that, and this is not a criticism in any way, but no church gets play like this.
Yeah.
No other church gets play like this, and so there's something about what we've witnessed in the death of a pontiff, which brought great sadness to the whole world. I remember when John Paul I died. He was only Pope for 30-some days.
Right.
And
What a shock it was.
But in those 33 days, he had captured the attention and the love of so many people.
That smile.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then when they had the funeral in St. Peter's Square there, it poured.
Yes.
It just absolutely poured.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this newspaper, and it was the top half of the fold of the newspaper, and it showed his casket before the altar and the pouring rain, and the caption simply read, and the heavens wept. And the heavens wept.
Yeah.
Because that's how we felt. We were very, very sad. It was almost an unconsolable kind of sadness, because we only had him for such a short period of time.
Right.
And so with Pope Francis, that so many people had fallen in love with, because he was really a father figure.
Yes.
And an older an older man. He was 88 when he died, and people fell in love with him. And then so many replaying of visits that he made to different countries, and how he would relate to children, especially people who were deformed, people who were lepers.
He embraced all.
He embraced
people.
them all,
Yeah.
kissed them, and didn't show any fear about the touch
Right.
of someone who was sick. And so his and he had again a great love for the poor. You know the story about when he was elected, and the cardinal prefect came down to ask him if he accepted the election, then by what name he would be called. The cardinal that was sitting next to him there in the Sistine Chapel whispered to him as the cardinal prefect is about to come down and ask him if he accepts and what name. The cardinal prefect, the cardinal next to him, whispered to him, "Remember the poor." And we believe at that moment that he took the name Francis, not Francis Xavier, after whom I'm named, by the way.
Right.
Okay.
But and people would have understood that because of the connection to the Jesuits, and
Sure.
Francis was a Jesuit.
Sure.
But he chose Francis as Francis of Assisi, who was a great advocate for the poor, and so in the taking of a name, it does mean something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good to know that history.
So much meaning wrapped
all of
up
us.
for all of us.
Yeah.
Whether you're Catholic, whether you're not, whether you're churched or unchurched. History. We're living
It's
it.
made, yeah.
Bishop Francis Malone, our life strategist today, talking about the history that is unfolding in our times. Leo XIV. We'll be back. More strategies to come. Stay here. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back. Welcome back into a very special edition of Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Well, why do I say it's a very special edition? Well, we've had some really special life strategists through the years.
Absolutely.
But we got a very special one today. Bishop Francis Malone, the Bishop of the Diocese of Shreveport. If you're a Catholic in this area, our spiritual father, our spiritual leader, our shepherd. Thank you so much, Bishop, for coming and being a part of Strategies and sharing this moment.
And thank you for all that you do for our community.
Yes, and our church. What do you want to leave us with today? What's your parting message to us?
People have often asked me about my faith life and about my Catholicism, and I am Catholic and Christian for 2 reasons. First of all, because my parents were such strong Catholics.
Yes,
and I was raised in such a Catholic environment. But the second reason is because I believe that God has called me then to do what my parents did for me, is to share that message of Jesus Christ with others. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at the new Holy Father, in my own private spiritual life, I'm going to be asked that question. How is this man of God chosen to be the successor to Peter, chosen to lead the church, chosen to be my spiritual father for the time being? How is he going to lead me closer to the Lord? And that's actually the vocation that all of us have.
Sure.
How am I going to lead others to the Lord?
Yes.
How through my life am I going to be an example of what it means to be a Christian?
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you, Bishop. Lauren, thank you. Folks, thank you. We appreciate you being a part of Strategies for Living, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX and the Balanced Life Wellness Center and Fertitas Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator, Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Bishop Francis Malone, for Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.